Stuart, it hasn't come as such a surprise to Serie A fans, but what a great job De Zerbi has done with this Brighton side.
Absolutely, because they still play possession football, as Potter did, but Potter's team didn't have that incisive edge to them. They didn't play the ball forward enough. And that's when McAllister was talking there. In that first half against Grimsby, they played possession football without penetration. The other games, there's been great rotation. They've got players in the front areas that can go past people. I think Ferguson probably won't be playing. I think he's going to be out. But Danny Welbeck, remember that game early on in the season against Manchester United, kept on making forward runs. Their fullbacks, Estupinian will get forward down the left-hand side. Veltman's not going to be fit, I don't think, for it. But Caicedo and McAllister in midfield, they're going to try and dominate that area. And they play some wonderful football. And that's exactly what De Zerbi wants from his team. They keep the ball well, but at the right times, they're penetrative, they get forward runners, and they're so dangerous.
Jules, how impressed have you been with Brighton under De Zerbi?
Massively impressed, like everybody else. I think we knew De Zerbi from the great job that he did in Italy and then at Shakhtar. But then there's always a question mark, or the old cliche, can he come and do it here in the Premier League, in the best league in the world? Will he need time to adapt? What about his dressing room, his players? Will they need time to adapt to his methods and to his style? And it was all so smooth. It was just like he's been there for years and years and years, and they've just got to exactly what he wants to do so quickly. Look at what we've said often with those managers. You judge them really on the results, of course, very important, on the style of football, and they're all very different. But then also individually, how much they improve their own players. And when you look at what De Zerbi has done with Mitoma, with young Evan Ferguson, with Solly March, even with McAllister. He's a World Cup winner, but I think De Zerbi has taken his game to the next level. Caicedo the same. The defenders too. I mean, even Steele in goal. Who would have thought at the start of the season that Steele at some point will be the starter in an FA Cup semi-final with Brighton, who are aiming for a top 4, maybe top 6 finish in the Premier League? Nobody. And yet he's improved all those players individually, which makes a big difference, because collectively he was always going to have this kind of structure and this kind of ideas. But for that to succeed, he needed the players to be at the right level and playing the right way, and that's exactly what's happening.
And it might have even been a higher finish. Obviously, we don't know how the season's going to end just yet, had it not been for so many refereeing decisions going against them, Stevie.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's kind of tough to, if they don't make it, to use that as an excuse, because every team would give you a sob story, probably 3 or 4 games. The impressive thing about this team, and the thing I like about what De Zerbi's done, is that the emphasis is on going forward. It's not keep the ball to keep the ball's sake. You know, it's get your head up, and if there's a ball to be played forward, you play it first. You don't stay safe and keep the ball, and then, well, we'll start looking forward after about 10 passes. It's not 10 passes a goal. That's the difference with this team between Potter and De Zerbi. If the ball's on to go forward, they go forward early. And if it's not, then they keep it. Not the other way around.
Do you like Alexis McAllister because he's been linked with Liverpool and a move there?
Absolutely. Who wouldn't want a Scot in your team?
I love that he's a Scot.
I mean, you can see all the Scottish attributes in his game. A lovely left peg, a right good heart, and he's got the pasty look as well. He's got everything. All he needs is ginger hair. Perfect.
Yeah, I'd just like the Argentine World Cup winner,
hey,
Alexis McAllister.
I'll take McAllister any day. He's a player.
How are Manchester United looking going into this game now after what happened against Sevilla? How does that affect what we're going to see this weekend in the FA Cup?
I don't think that is a United team playing with an awful lot of confidence. Not just what happened in the second leg against Sevilla, but also in the first leg. I fear just kind of given a lot of a lot of Manchester United's poor performances and people's questions being asked. I don't find United all that convincing. Yes, they're well positioned to finish at the very least in the top 4, but certainly I don't feel that they've equipped themselves that well. Big question mark, I guess, for me or for them to answer is how do you go from knocking out Barcelona to getting knocked out by Sevilla? And I think that speaks to some of their own inconsistencies. Up against a very good Brighton side who I think has an edge to them. An edge maybe because of those refereeing decisions and a season that promised so much more. You saw kind of some of that attitude coming out in De Zerbi and how he approached Delaney, given what he said about his coaching and his side. And as good a footballing team as Brighton are, they also have that edge, which I don't think you can say about United. When they needed it most in the Europa League against Sevilla, they were found lacking. So going into this one, I just see Brighton as coming into it in better form, coming into it with more to prove, and certainly better self-belief. I fear it's going to be a long evening for Manchester United.
Stuart, what do you think? How can a defeat like the one we saw in the Sanchez-Pizjuan for Manchester United affect them going into a big semi-final this weekend?
Well, it will affect them. There's no doubt about it. They're going to not be playing with confidence. Lots of players are going to be worried about how they're going to perform. The manager's going to be worried how they're going to perform. And when you've got three centre-halves missing, and you're probably going to have to play with Lindelof and Shaw as your centre-halves, Malacia maybe at left-back and Wan-Bissaka at right-back. When you play against Brighton, because of their movement and their rotation, the defenders have to make good decisions, when to drop off, when to squeeze up, when to go with runners, when to pass on. Well, if you haven't got an experienced back line or players that aren't used to playing at centre-back, in the case of Shaw, although he's done it a few times this season, it could be a massive problem for them. Of course, Casemiro and Eriksen are still good players in that midfield area. They've still got good players up front, but it's the back four that are going to be really tested at the weekend.
Jules, could this be the week that Manchester United's promising season comes apart?
Of course it can, and we knew it before. It's again, we could see in the schedule that this was huge, and then they go to Spurs, by the way, on Thursday night in the Premier League, in the battle for a top four finish. 5th, 6th, whatever. So this is it. The Sevilla second leg, this FA Cup semi-final, the Spurs clash away from home, and they could have 3 defeats. And after on Thursday night, it could be a very different picture than the one that we had before they travelled to Sevilla on Thursday. So it was always going to be this 8 days for them. Very, very tricky, very dangerous to manage because of the injuries. Like Stuart said, I think losing Lisandro Martinez and Rafael Varane, again, a bit like the Saliba Tomiyasu for Arsenal at this time of the season is huge. When you don't have Bruno Fernandes for the Sevilla game because he's suspended, it's huge as well. Rashford is not fully fit. Shaw is not fully fit, otherwise they would have started in Sevilla. So it's difficult. You've got the Anthony issue, Martial, not really sure again the fitness, otherwise it's Weghorst. I mean, Harry Maguire, let's not get started on him. And then David De Gea, why would you give even a new contract? This is crazy. So there's all those narratives around the team right now that is just the worst preparation for this semi-final and also the Spurs clash.
Which is why pretty much nobody is going for Manchester United to win this one, but sometimes you've got to stand alone in your predictions.
I like how you've gone for extra time just to give yourself a little bit of an out.
They've got to bounce back. They've got to do it. But yeah, I've just been told in my ear, by the way, you're the only one who's gone for a Manchester United win.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.